In this video, we'll examine 4 arguments in favor of protectionism. While proponents of free trade will argue that protectionism results in inefficiencies, there are some who feel protectionism can be justified. We'll consider their grounds in the following slides. 4 key arguments in favor of protectionism include enacting trade barriers to address a trade deficit or current account deficit. Secondly, to protect infant industries. Third, to protect domestic jobs. And finally, to correct market failure. Governments may opt for protectionist measures to correct a trade deficit. In order to address a trade deficit, which exists when export revenue is less than import expenditure, a government may enact protectionist measures to reduce import expenditure. The hope is that domestic consumers will switch towards cheaper goods produced locally. However, it is important to note that protectionist measures risk retaliatory responses from our trade partners, so our export revenue may also fall. Also, by removing competitive pressure, domestic firms have less incentive to cut costs and improve. Government may also be interested in protecting infant industries, which are new industries in the earlier stages of development. They would experience difficulty or inability to compete with established competition from abroad, thereby justifying government intervention to protect them. An example discussed in class is the Chinese automobile industry, which is protected by restrictions on the imports of foreign cars. As the Chinese industry develops and Chinese cars improve, the government may lessen their level of protection of this industry. However, it is important to note that protectionism of infant industries is more effective if protected firms continue to develop and invest in improvement. To evaluate, the government must be able to decide which industries fall into this category. They must also be able to determine when the infant industry no longer requires government support. Also, as with any protectionist measure, there is always a possibility of retaliation. Protectionist measures may be taken to protect domestic jobs and workers. The EU placed tariffs on Chinese solar panels as European producers felt the Chinese government was subsidizing them so heavily that it made the European producers unable to compete on price. By placing the tariff on the Chinese solar panels, it would allow EU producers to continue to manufacture and sell solar panels, saving European jobs and allowing for industry expansion as a result. The government may want to reduce the consumption of demerit goods and therefore enact protectionist policies. This picture is taken from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Customs Twitter account. There was a seizure of 48,000 cans of Heineken beer someone tried to smuggle into Saudi Arabia, a country which bans the consumption, sale, and import of alcohol. The clever plan was to hide the beer in Pepsi can labels, which, as you can see, ultimately failed. That wraps up our video on the arguments in favor of protectionism. It's not an exhaustive list, but does give you good insight into protectionist arguments. In the comments below, write down an example of an industry from your country that you think has been protected, and hopefully we can start a discussion as to why it's happened and how effective it's been. Feel free to email me with any questions at EnhanceTuition@gmail.com or visit my website at www.EnhanceTuition.co.uk. That's us done for now, and I will see you in the next one.